Hey guys, Marshall here again with another episode of Plausibly Anything. Um, Today's episode was sparked by something I found on social media, the horrible social media. It was actually a Twitter post, a guy talking about um, how these prolific people became masters of their art, whatever it may be, and he actually kind of discovered this spectrum itself. So I'm basically using his spectrum to elaborate on. And on general terms, it's like going from a novice to a beginner to being proficient, being an expert, and being a master at whatever it is that you want to spend your life doing. Whatever is like your great intent with your life. Um, and so if you're a novice, you're kind of unconsciously incompetent. And there's a lot of people that go through life kind of unconsciously incompetent. They're very at the effect of life and not at the cause. There was periods of my life when I was very young where I was kind of in that phase of being just like, well, I'm just gonna play video games and do my thing. There were certain things that I was very conscious about getting better at, like being a soccer player. I was conscious about getting decent grades and things like that. Um, but then there was a lot of times I spent in this unconscious like incompetence where I wasn't really discovering a way to rise above, competition, rise above the rest of people in the academic world. Um, and so you go from being unconscious about things to being conscious about things, but you're still incompetent, and that's the beginner stage. You're conscious but incompetent still. Maybe that is a more accurate way to describe me being in high school, being conscious about getting decent grades, but still incompetent in the great scheme of things. Um, and then even in college, I felt like I was conscious about things, but still incompetent, um, to where I could take it to the next level and be like a businessman and whatnot. And basically, in college, I was also helping my brother run a landscaping company. And yes, I was conscious about getting the work done, but also I was incompetent in being my full potential where I could have actually been like learning what needed to be learned to be a business owner. So my brother, he was actually in that stage where he was in the conscious competent stage where he's proficient about being a business owner, and he had established so many things that he needed to get done, um, on a weekly basis, on an ownership basis, accounting for the different expenses and things like that, establishing when he needed to upgrading equipment, and basically organizing things. Where I was doing those type of things on somewhat of an incompetent level, because I was like, well, I'm gonna get all these things done. I'm not gonna necessarily organize anything more than that. I'm not gonna do any doing. I'm not gonna do as much accounting than I have to do. I'm not gonna meet more people than I have to meet, to establish new leads and new business. And so, although I was a partner with him, I was more like a foreman. I wasn't really going above and beyond to being proficient. Maybe it was also that I didn't really believe in the system that I was working in. I didn't really believe I was going to be, um, I guess, an equal partner with my brother in the end. And in the end, I didn't really end up being an equal partner because I didn't establish. Who knows if I would have ever even became an equal partner? But I didn't. I kind of stopped. I think for a period of time I thought I could be, and I kind of stopped trying to do that. But um, the next stage on that we did with novice was went from novice to beginner to proficient, which my brother's kind of proficient at being a business owner, to being an expert, which is unconsciously competent. And I think about this next level, kind of like in in the sports world, where you get to a certain level let's say you get to the NFL and you've been so successful in college. Um, you get to the NFL, you may not show your mastery yet, your expertise, but maybe it's the mindset. Maybe it's also the competence to knowing what you actually have to do to be at that top level. I think about players that come in the league and they do really well and they show that they're kind of like a master already. I feel like one of those players might be Marvin Harrison Jr. and his father was also a professional athlete. Marvin Harrison played for the Colts. I think his father probably provided him with the understanding of how it was to be able to get to the professional level and what you need to do to be able to succeed. He had an off game his first game in the league. His second game, he scored 2 touchdowns and had about 140 yards of offense on 4 receptions in the first freaking quarter against professional level defenses, and he's a rookie, and so some people have established that bar that they want to get to, and it's usually developed through competence. Um, and so this prolific conscious competence that they are getting to leads to mastery, and I sort of disagree with this part of the Twitter post because he called the expert mastery level to be unconscious competence, where you're so good at it you're not even thinking about what you need to do. But in certain areas, like in sports, in the sports world, I don't think that you can just be unconsciously competent for a long period of time and still have success. I think you start declining. I think this happens with a lot of players, is that they are so good that they become unconsciously competent and just kind of ride the wave that they were on. They get that big contract, that big quarterback contract, and they're like, "Oh, I did this," you know. They believe in me. I believe in myself. I can be unconsciously competent and be able to, you know, just, you know, keep going with the flow. And so you're either growing or you're not growing, from what I understand in life. And so that's where I disagree. But I think that can also happen where you get proficient, and then you get that true expertise where it's just like unconsciously good at things. I feel like there's certain people that do get to that phase where they can unconsciously be a master of their craft, and that's just certain circumstances. I feel like that's a true expertise where you can just kind of, maybe musicians can just keep doing what they've been doing. Maybe in different fields, maybe it works where you can get to that stage and things become your excellence becomes kind of unconscious in a way. I've been trying recently to discover how I can improve my ability to improv with these conversations on my channel, but also my ability to improv in other ways. And there really is no strategy that I've seen to being able to be a great improviser besides just keep putting yourself in situations where you have to improvise. So I've been just trying to establish this where I'm at in this sort of spectrum, to be able to trial and error for my for something that is hard to really even establish a baseline for, or or an understanding of where you're at, because when it comes to like jumping into conversations and stuff like that, it's really hard to establish where you're at, especially before you even get into a conversation, or get into something like this, or try to like freestyle and work your way up into freestyle rap and stuff like that. So you kind of have to be your own scientist in a way. And that's actually, I think we did a little bit of a episode recently. Oh, that was last episode. That was last episode where we went from the paradigm into being a kind of a scientist in a way, to establish proven theories, and we're going to actually uncover that even more in the next episode. But we went from a preacher. These are just different sort of types of like conversation, types of like intent, in a way where you become like, you're either a prosecutor trying to change people's minds, a politician trying to get people to like you, or being a preacher just preaching ideas. And then you get to the stage where you're a scientist, where you're using proven theory. And so in the next episode, we're going to talk about proven theory in a way, and we're going to actually just uncover the sort of spectrum of getting to established theory. Because in your life, you're basically you're either in one of those phases where whenever you converse with people, you're either you either fall into one of those areas. And so me myself personally, I want to be able to establish to being that point where I have proven theory, where I do the things that I talk about, and I have proven experiences for them. And so everyone is really developing, whether unconsciously or not, you're establishing different theories in your life that sort of are your direction in life, whether you're just unconsciously, whether you're unconsciously establishing these different. Sorry, I got a little bit windy here. The wind's picking up. Whether you're unconsciously establishing these theories or not, they're always going to be there. Jeez. We made it this far without having my stand fall over. It might fall over again, guys. Just try to bear with me. You're either, no matter what, if you don't go around life as trying to create these theories, you also are creating something. You're either creating this unconscious incompetence, or conscious incompetence, or you're consciously competent. So like, it's hard to establish. Sometimes you kind of float in between these things, but like, are you living a life where you're trying to establish these theories? Because there's so many gray areas in life where you aren't establishing where you're at, or you're not establishing that you can even grow from something, and you end up in this sort of spiral where you're not growing. So if you don't ever reflect on where you're at, on whether you're, wherever you go in life, whatever, if you're going into social settings or business settings or just family settings, if you don't ever establish where you want conversations to go, or what your intention is, or if your ideas have basis for them, then you end up just being a prosecutor, politician, or a preacher, where your just ideas don't really have any weight to them. And then a lot of times people can pick up on this, and they can peel back the layers to what's going on behind the person. And these really competent people can really tell that there's some errors behind what exactly is going on here. Like, even though you may, there's all kinds of hidden problems to, like, your direction in conversations, that if you don't reflect on them, you can really easily just be in your like state where you're not even thinking about how you can even sound to people. So that is a very unconsciously incompetent state sometimes, where you can be in this area where you're just kind of vibing, which is great. You can vibe, and hopefully you're around people that really appreciate you, because if you unconsciously just kind of spit stuff out in like a sort of preacher style to things, and then whenever somebody disagrees with you, you can end up all like twisted and all angry about things, and then you'll wonder why people don't even want to hang out with you or something like that. So you have to be able to reflect and understand that, like, if you're not, if you're the, and for me personally, I brought up things before where they've just been kind of wrong, even though there's been sort of science, there were sort of studies and stuff to back these sort of things. They ended up kind of being wrong in a way, about some supplements that I was taking and stuff like that. So even whenever you do have a theory, it can also be wrong, and you have to be able to accept that and be accountable for these errors, because at least you're trying to figure out the truth to whatever philosophy or idea it is. At least you're trying to be competent and establish this, because a lot of people don't even care about it. They just kind of go through that unconscious lifestyle. And I would hope that you guys try to think about that. There's no shame really in and just going for this mastery of a lifestyle. It's a moonshot, as Tony Robbins would say. Find out what it is that you want to be a master of, and you're going to have to be a scientist in a way. Create your own theories and see if you can prove them right, and see if you can prove them wrong, and don't get so attached to whether or not they are right or wrong, because you're working forward at this. You're working forward at being consciously competent about all types of things. You have so many things to be able to tell people, all kinds of information spewing from you with improvisation. And anybody is capable of doing this. It just may take more time. You may have to create more of an understanding of where you're at to be able to reach this level of mastery. And hey, I got a lot to work on. I mean, you guys can probably tell from now that there's certain times of there's certain times in this lesson where I just didn't really have a segue or something to go into, and it sort of might have even lose some people's attention. So it's fine now because I'm talking to a phone, I'm talking into a mic. But if I'm in front of an audience and you start losing your audience in a way, then that is a problem, because they might even walk out on you. You might get heckled by some angry man or something like that. You never know what's going to be. You'll even get heckled by people in your social group for these different ideas. I've been heckled before because of ideas that I had that they didn't have proper backing or proper theory. So that can be a difficult realization. But hey, sometimes it's a wake up call to be even more um, fundamental about how you live your life and how you take conversational pieces that are backed in theory. So find out a way to be a master. Um, you can check out all the lessons here in the Mentoring 365. It's probably not going to make you a master at all, but there's a lot of really good ways to you can sort of understand where you're at in all kinds of different facets of your life and figure out how you can pull them all together to get to the next level. And I'm telling you right now, I believe strongly that there's many of these episodes that can help you reach a better stage in this process of being more proficient towards your mastery. And they've helped me too to reflect and help me to really just put myself out there. So thank you so much for watching. This is the Plausibly Anything channel. Please like and subscribe. I will see you guys next time.